Anti-identity politics people talking about privilege is awesome because you know they're going to be like, yeah, you know who has the privilege? The other identity that I'm not a part of, okay? Which is literally like identity politics.
Welcome back to Middle Ground.
Thank you so much to our sponsors.
Coupled with Black Lives Matter.
Identity politics.
I think that feminism coupled with Black Lives Matter have done so much more harm than good in our modern society. I'm good. How about yourself?
Not bad. Good.
Hi.
Say who you are, how old you are, what you do for a living.
You want me to identify myself? Put myself into a category immediately.
Identity politics is playing team sports based on traits about yourself you cannot change.
A general way of categorizing yourself as part of a greater whole. So that could be, you know, ethnically based, religiously based, or I think it actually could be politically based too.
What is the most important part of your identity?
My identity as an American.
Being an American.
Being a young woman who's a free thinker.
Judaism is pretty deeply ingrained in me.
I think my empathy.
What were the questions? Did everybody do this?
What is the most important part of your identity?
Human being, I think. Not really think, I know.
The most important part of my identity is that I can't get laid.
Hi, my name is Xavier Bryan. I am 31 years old. I teach yoga, and I'm studying to get my holistic nutritionist license.
Hey, I'm Jesse. I'm turning 32 next week, and I'm a filmmaker.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie. I'm 20 years old, and I'm a business student at USC.
Howdy, my name's Damani Felder. I'm from San Antonio, Texas.
Wait, are they all anti-identity politics? Like, what happened? Also, my man is dripping, dude. He is laced in grunt style. You see anybody rocking one of those grunt style shirts, dude? You know this motherfucker is going to yell at you about the Constitution, okay? You know.
I am a salesman and a YouTuber right now.
My name's Dan. I'm 30. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm from Kansas.
Dan's got the coolest hair. Holy shit.
My name's Ramneek Mathur. I'm 31. I'm an entrepreneur, real estate broker, and author.
Can I get my pro-identity politics folks on the left and my anti-identity politics people on the right? If you step forward, if this statement is true for you. Privilege exists between genders, races, sexual orientation, etc.
Bro, anti-identity politics people talking about privilege is awesome because you know they're going to be like, yeah, you know who has the privilege? The other identity that I'm not a part of, okay? Which is literally like identity politics. Let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like the word of like 2019 is privilege. I like to see it in terms of opportunity. I would much rather the conversation be on socioeconomic status as a form of privilege rather than race.
Pog. Okay. That's a Red Scare chick, I guess. All right, never mind. I was wrong.
I'm not God.
And this is what I think was the intention behind affirmative action in college, was to bring people from underprivileged communities into.
Oh, literally a Red Scare chick. Okay, makes sense.
God.
Like literally a Red. I was just joking at first, but yeah, no, like straight up. Like affirmative action is actually
higher education and great higher education at that, but what it's become now is become a tactic to get into college.
I definitely.
Meanwhile, I literally just said, okay, hold on. She just said, I would rather talk about, I would rather talk about socioeconomic status as a form of privilege, and then turned around and started talking about affirmative action when the biggest affirmative action is literally those with socioeconomic privilege that get into all of these institutes of higher learning through legacy admissions. What the fuck? This is how fucking brain dead you are when you're like fake woke about class exclusively so you can shit on like, I hate that like blacks are getting into college when my white ass can't. It's so stupid. So stupid. Like,
I agree with that, some of that. I definitely think that your socioeconomic status doesn't automatically absolve you from having experiences that come with being in a marginalized group.
I think privilege is real. I think as a man, there are certain things I get to do, and it's hard for me to list all of them right now in a way that if, you know, a woman were to do those things, they would be questioned more, or they would be doubted more, or people would question them.
I believe that there is one privilege that exists, and I think that privilege is green privilege. So when I think about these things where I like to say, oh, well, you are an Asian American or whatever, you have certain privileges or things that I don't have.
What?
I think what that does, it forces us to inherently say that because this person is privileged, then I am by default.
hey, fucking omni-liberals in the chat, stop saying class reduction is, please. These people don't understand. These people don't have like a dialectical materialist understanding. Like they're not engaging in they're not engaging in like fucking some sort of materialist analysis when they're talking about green privilege. They're just saying rich people are better off than poor people, which is true. Okay, and that's great that they're saying that. It is true, but they don't have like a understanding beyond that. They're not thinking about it they're not thinking about it beyond that. Stop saying class reductionist.
Automatically underprivileged, and it always allows you to say, oh, well,
like these fucking dumbass Trump supporters are not like class reductionist.
this person, you know, he has a fancy car or whatever, this person has a fancy vehicle or whatever, I can't get that because that person is a white person and I'm a black person, or that person is, you know, a high-ranking executive and it's a male versus a female. Look at Barack Obama, prime example. You could argue, oh, well, he was a person of color, therefore he didn't have the same privileges or whatever. Make no mistake, Barack Obama, he had quite a bit of resources from which to draw.
Sure, I agree with that, but I gotta go there is, can you imagine Barack Obama talking like the current president does and still getting accepted by the general public?
And I can agree that there are some ways the president tweets that I don't necessarily support.
In the United States, you could argue...
Wait, bitch? What? That's it? I don't support some of the things that Trump says. Okay. My man just Goku'd on your ass, dude. Holy shit. I hate that. I hate that they just like cut him off when they're fucking up.
Okay, maybe there is a white advantage right now, or in this modern context. You place that white person in the streets of India, it's a completely different context, okay? This is we're in a bubble. To say that there is privilege and there isn't privilege, rich people get overthrown in countries every day.
I think we're specifically talking about
nothing
America.
is off the books.
Privilege isn't saying that anything is impossible for a certain...
Goku because he's Asian? Yes. I'm saying Goku because he's Asian, not because he has anime hair. Because he's Asian. I'm being racist. You guys caught me. Not because he has the coolest fucking hair out of that entire group of people. You guys are right. You caught me on that one, dude.
In person.
Or that everyone else has it easy.
Or that, right. It's also true that some people have handicaps. And we live in a country
Goku's not even
specifically talking
Asian.
about this particular bubble, because everyone has a different bubble,
Sure. Yep.
that was made by a bunch of white men that owned other people, and women couldn't vote.
What we see now...
Wait, I missed it. Sorry, I was malding.
In person.
Or that everyone else has it
Every day.
I think we're specifically talking about
nothing
America.
is off the books.
Privilege isn't saying that anything is impossible for a certain person.
Or that everyone else has it easy.
Or that, right. It's also true that some people have handicaps. And we live in a country specifically talking about this particular bubble, because everyone has a different bubble,
Sure. Yep.
that was made by a bunch of white men that owned other people, and women couldn't vote.
What we see now is from our politicians and people who want to remain in power or rise to power, is they exploit those characteristics that make us different.
We put labels on everything. So I think identity is intrinsic to who we are as beings. Even if there's turmoil or people are butting heads, I think from that friction, we can spark some members that can really change a lot of things.
I prefer to vote for a candidate that looks like me?
I don't believe that I'm going to just vote for someone because they're black or because they're male or because of anything that they have in common with me. I don't think that would be the only reason. It would play a part in why I would vote for that person because of the experiential wisdom they would have behind certain social issues that I experience as well.
To assume that by virtue of someone's skin color or nationality that they automatically must know what it feels like to be me. No, you don't. Like, no one knows.
My man jumped on that landmine. He was like, fuck it. Fuck it. Why did you jump on it then? You should just stood up and not sat down. Like, it's very obvious. Like, it's a gotcha question.
Knows what it feels like to be me, but me.
I agree with that. Also, I think when you have certain struggles, like say you grew up poor and hungry, we would be fighting for that guy to win, right? Because it's a sense of coming from the dirt and rising up. That's the American dream, really. So when we're talking about someone who's brown or someone who's female, or someone who is black or whatever, I think it's the compassion and the empathy that they have from coming
fam, like someone who's like family.
From that struggle. So that's really what I want for a leader.
All humans divide themselves up into groups naturally, and it's up to us to be able to channel that responsibly. There's a lot of problems in the discourse right now, but I think we're having conversations now that need to be had and need to be reckoned with.
Movements like feminism and Black Lives Matter have created more unity than division.
Oh my God. See? Another debate. Oh no.
Did it create unity?
Oh no. Oh no. What did you do, cool hair? You jumped on that fucking grenade, dude. That's a terrible question. No.
Within the people that found solidarity in those movements? Absolutely. Does it create discord amongst the larger society? Perhaps.
Definitely.
Is that discord necessary? Probably, I would say.
I think about the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter thing, and as a white person, Black Lives Matter helped me understand a little bit more about what a black...
Conservative Jewish people who are like, as a white person who embodies Judeo-Christian values, is like, bitch, you've been white for like the past 10 years, okay? I'm telling you, these guys, you're first on the chopping block, okay? You're like right after the black conservatives. Like, as soon as this shit gets cut off, they're gonna be like, yeah, pff, Jewish people aren't white. Don't be crazy. Like, half the psychopathic Republicans that are now talking about Judeo-Christian values were literally openly anti-Semitic like 20 years ago. Like, openly on television. Like, you can trace it back. I never understand that. Like, how can you not be a little bit more skeptical of the people that you run with when like half the time behind closed doors they're like, it's the Jews, right? That's the reason why we're mad, right? Nuts. Nuts. Erasure of the Fredos. We all know who would go first. Kind of fucked, dude. I mean, yeah. The other thing is like, they're not even... Half of the people are openly anti-Semitic. They're not even hiding. If Jews aren't white, then how are Turks white? I'm not saying Turks are white. Depending on the concept of whiteness is completely up to whoever the hegemonic power is that controls the concept of whiteness. It's just like it changes, and it has changed. It has changed throughout time. And my point is like, Jewish people were not usually incorporated as white people until recently. So I just never understand when you're from like a marginalized background and then you turn around and side with the oppressors and do the oppressing. How do you not realize that like you're going to go back to the non-white status pretty soon? As soon as like whatever group is eradicated, they're going to turn their crosshairs on you. Let's keep going.
Black experience could look like in some situations. And it's not that other lives don't matter. It's just that right now, this particular issue needs a little bit more attention. It's like saying, oh, well, I'm here to fight for breast cancer. And someone else is like, no, all cancers, let's do an all cancer pin. It's like,
why is it only breast cancer?
But why can't we have why can't we have these little moments of focus on these specific things?
I'm going to start off with a very...
Wait, I'm confused. He's anti-identity politics, though. And he got up and said, "This. What are they doing?" My man came in and was like, "I'm anti-identity politics." And then he followed that up by saying... And then he, like, came in and was like, "Yeah, I think movements like Black Lives Matter are causing more..." Yeah, I know. He got up on the question that was... Do you think movements like BLM are causing division? And he said yes. And then now he's saying, then he argued against it. He said more unity inside the group. Wait, did I misunderstand the question? I thought they said, oh, movements like feminism and Black Lives Matter have created more unity than division. Oh, shit. Okay, I thought I'm so conditioned into fucking hearing division rather than unity. Oh my God. This entire time I was malding over no reason. Wait, that's weird. Why is he anti-identity politics then?
Probably, yeah. I would say.
You were shitting on him for... What? You're shitting on him for... No, dude, he's anti-identity politics, and I thought the question was different. And then I saw him like literally argue against his position.
I think about the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter thing, and as a white person,
you're just looking for reasons to hate him because you're anti-Semitic. True.
Black Lives Matter helped me understand a little bit more about other lives don't more attention. Cancers. Let's have these little.
Okay, why didn't the rest of the pro-identity politics people get up? This doesn't make any sense.
Start off with a very bold statement. I think that feminism...
I thought the cool hair guy thought that it created more division. Yeah, I did. That's why I said no. Just because they think people are fighting over this stuff and that's division. I thought the cool hair guy was also on board with like more division.
Coupled with Black Lives Matter have done so much more harm than good in our modern society. There is this deep-seated resentment that has been left unaddressed in a lot of the African-American community, but what matters is the way you channel that and what you do with it. There's been documented instances where they say, hey, white people who are here, get to the back of the group. Like, this is a Black Lives Matter group. I'm just like, you said you wanted help, but it seems like you're more preoccupied with being...
This dude is so fucking jacked, dude. I'd be afraid to be like, shut the fuck up, you're stupid.
Angry than finding a solution.
And I think you're talking right into the pitfall of identity politics.
But he is, though. He is stupid. He's a stupid person. I can say that now from the comfort of my own home. What do you mean he's not jacked? Look at those fucking traps. That's not fat, dude. Look at this. That's not fat.
Than finding a solution.
And I think you're talking right into...
He's fat and jacked. He has a Twitch account clipped and shipped.
The pitfall of identity politics, which is the common enemy identity politics, where it's me against him, it's us against them, they're the problem, right? But there's another side of identity politics, something more in the likes of MLK. So you draw a larger picture around a group, and then you bring in commonality. Where I agree with you is these movements are losing steam and lost steam because they didn't extrapolate from the grievances of the people. If there are systemic issues like corrupt cops, who's for corrupt cops? Everyone can get behind that. It became the us versus you. It's us versus them.
I honestly believe the organization of the Black Lives Matter movement was...
Liberals and conservatives both love to talk about how much they love MLK. Meanwhile, 67% of the country was anti-MLK during the civil rights movement. So they would firmly be anti-MLK at the time that he was protesting. Just like now, they're invoking the legacy of MLK to talk about how BLM sucks. But like literally, they did the same thing back then. It's so funny. God damn, dude.
Intentional, that it focused on black people. Separating the black experience from the other experiences is important because it is specific when you're being targeted, like stop and frisk, right? It was specific. So I could probably ask, have you ever been touched aggressively by a police officer?
Not once.
Never in your life?
Not once.
Never in your life?
Never.
Okay.
And how many times have you been, like, aggressively searched by a police officer?
The one time it was pretty aggressive. He said my license plate lights were out. That's why he pulled me over. And they weren't. And he was
fucking live PD, bitch. We've seen it.
Just kind of slamming me, like, over and over. And I was like, okay, bro, you don't have to slam me. I'm not resisting. And then more cars came. And then they had me on the ground, and they handcuffed me, and they took everything out of my car. And then they uncuffed me, and they said I was free to go. But still, that's a traumatic experience. I didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't speeding.
Literally happens on live PD every time we watch.
I'm in a white neighborhood.
No one's saying there isn't prejudice or racism in any type of situation, but that's a cultural dynamic that we need to address as a society and community. That isn't something you can regulate out. Like, I can't regulate someone to respect me.
But that's why civil rights is important, because you can't force, you know, people to say black people, I like black people all of a sudden, but you can say they get to vote now. It's about rallying people in order to change policy.
So I wanted to speak on the feminist movement really quickly. I would call myself a feminist in the literal sense of the definition if we're talking about the political, socioeconomic, and social equality of the sexes. I think there's a lot of people, I think the majority of Americans would agree with that definition. But what feminism has done now is it's gone completely to the other side, in which case
women have more rights
feminists aren't invited to the conversation anymore. Women that support Trump, and yes, we do exist, we're not invited to the conversations anymore because we're automatically seen as that at face value.
It's so stupid. Like, it's so dumb. Why won't they let me into the club where I just come in and keep yelling, knocking shit over, and keep yelling about how they're all stupid? Feminists for Trump. Oh man, remember she's a anti-identity politics, by the way.
I struggle with these extremes, right? Whether it's just good or just bad. I think that the 24-hour news cycle and algorithms on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are damaging to the country because they help us get into our trenches even deeper, encouraging identity politics in a negative.
Americans are too focused on race.
I don't understand how, that guy, why is he anti-identity politics?
We have people who would rather talk about, oh, this is what your race is, and this is almost what your prescribed set of values, this is what your thought process should look like. And I think when we apply that lens to every situation, that we abdicate the ability to critically think for ourselves when we're always self-segregating ourselves based on those things that make us different.
Just because you have a common trait doesn't mean you have a shared experience.
Right.
You know, and it might be true in one scenario, right? But what happens in the mainstream is we start conflating several different experiences with the same common trait.
Right.
And that's where the idea kind of implodes on itself.
I guess I agree with most of what everyone brought up. It is reductive to reduce your thoughts and perspectives just to a group or a race. And I would just say, like, first of all, like growing up in Kansas, like an Asian identity was never really discussed.
Tim the black man.
Me or my friends or anyone I knew. It wasn't until I became an adult, moved somewhere like Los Angeles where people are interested in having a discussion, that I started to see what that was like, what that experience was like. And not saying if a candidate is Asian, I automatically agree with them, but there are certain things that people treat me as that people wouldn't treat you as, wouldn't treat you as. And it's helpful for me to realize those things without saying that I'm totally identified by that. And furthermore, I feel like we need more discussion because, like, look at things like the college admissions thing. People are saying that there's too many Asians in college, and they're actually pitting Asians against black people for a lot of these slots. It materially affects people's lives to have these discussions, so I think it's valuable.
So you can't say, oh, well, we need to see X amount of this race in college because that's fair. That isn't fair. What's fair is anyone that wants to be here can try to be here.
But race has been used to exclude people from institutions as well. And I definitely agree that entering into college, now that we've lifted...
I've never felt like being pro-identity politics is a really hard... It's not a very easy fucking argument to make. Is like, a lot of people immediately have, like, they have a reflexive reaction to identity politics, right? But these people are not doing a good job defending it, I don't think. As a matter of fact, I would say that this is the first time I watched like one of these Jubilee videos where I've felt like the side that I should be agreeing with is kind of doing a bad job. Like kind of doing a bad job describing it. Like when it comes to identity politics, the easiest thing you can do is what I think this guy was kind of talking about just now, which is that like, there has always been identity politics. It's impossible to avoid identity politics. All manner of identity politics has shaped our history. For example, black people being excluded from being able to vote or not being seen as like full human beings is identity politics. So you have to change the framework a little bit and help people understand that most of the time, when people are saying that they're anti-identity politics, they're taking the default status quo position, even though the status quo position itself is a protection of a certain identity. In most cases, whatever the hegemonic identity is, and usually that is the straight white heteronormative patriarchy. So that's the only way you can describe it. You can't, like, all this other stuff is going to come across as silly goose bullshit. Full human beings because we suppose non-human beings deserve to be treated like shit. The only people who deserve to be treated like shit is Bao Bao in my chat. Everyone else is good. Thanks, Bao Bao, for coming in with your 2 cents there. Bao Bao's going to get me fucking banned. He's like talking shit about a partner streamer. I'm kidding. Bao Bao doesn't deserve to be that bad. Exactly. Anyway. I think that's the only way to describe it. How is using the MLK was hated by conservatives argument not the same as Democrats were slave owners argument? It's not the same. I'm not just saying that like MLK was hated by, I'm saying MLK was hated by liberals too. It's an ongoing trend. If Democrats were still behaving like slave owners, if Democrats were still doing anti-black agitation in a similar fashion to what Republicans are doing, and if there wasn't like additional evidence that the parties ideologically grounded themselves in either side of the racial debate, then sure, I would probably say there is truth to that sentiment, that you could still use that same exact argument. Why are these left-right terms so prevalent now? The last few decades before no one said that shit. I don't get it. I mean, I think it's just people are more... I think just people are more open up about their opinions. What do you mean? There's always been like a left-right spectrum. Well, the parties are more polarized now. The parties are more ideologically grounded and more polarized now than they were before in America. But left-right has existed all around the world.
Those bans on who can go. And
fair enough, but it feels like an excuse. What do you mean an excuse? I'm confused by what you're upset about.
Enter into these institutions.
MLK advocated for progressive change for a marginalized community, specifically black people. That kind of progressive movement was abhorred by the majority. which included liberals as well as, Republicans. That kind of negative sentiment, negative reaction is still very much expressed towards other progressive movements, contemporary progressive movements that seek to eliminate inequality today. Who decorated your house, you or your mom? I did.
Institutions, I definitely agree that there should be a framework where race isn't involved.
I think identity politics are, like a lot of things, it can be misused, but we have to understand what the caveats are and the limitations. And in that framework, I think identity politics is very useful.
It's reasonable to expect others to learn new gender pronouns.
Uh-oh. What the fuck? Why is this guy on the anti-identity politics side? He's fucking pro-identity politics, dude.
Party, and I was like, my wife and I didn't know how to handle it. And I asked whether he would want to be, like, how I would introduce him to the rest of my groom's party. And I'm embarrassed thinking back on that now because that put them in a difficult situation. But thank goodness their heart was big enough and they were kind enough and understanding enough to be able to say, just introduce me as a guy. That's what I am. That's my gender identity.
I'm trans. It's good for people to understand gender. Now they're creating the language.
Boom, bitch!
Around it being a social construct, which is in itself definitely very true. We don't have a framework set up right now.
Yeah. Bitches.
Where that can be fluidly expressed, because we will box people in based off of how they look, but identifying is important so we can free up that truth and people can really just feel much more autonomous with their identity.
Brilliantly said. Now what we're learning...
Bro, this guy is awesome. I feel so bad that I shit on him originally because he said that he was anti-idpol and I totally misunderstood the question. He's just like, I don't know why the fuck he's on the anti-identity politics side. He's like been more reasonable than this fucking guy over here, Arit or whatever, who keeps giving centrist takes, even though he's pro-identity politics. We swap these two. Swap them.
As science, is that gender is a spectrum. Okay, so how feminine you are or how alpha male you are is a spectrum. And on
my man, you are the worst, dude. First of all, conflating being alpha with like masculinity, again, like no, you can be alpha and feminine. These aren't values that are antithetical to one another. Feminine versus alpha. My man said feminine versus alpha. he's just like Trainwreck's tier 3 sub. He's just memeing, idiot. Okay.
In that spectrum we fall. So how many of these pronouns do we need? Are there a billion variations that we can genetically identify? Like what I'm trying to get at is, I think we're too closely tying our gender and to who we are.
Just going off of the prompt is it reasonable for people to learn new gender pronouns? The question is how many? Because today I'm not sure how, if I look at Facebook, I think there's like there's a multitude of different gender identities, and at some point we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, where do we draw a line for what is reasonable?
How many names do you think it's appropriate to get someone to learn?
And here's my honest opinion. Male, female, like I feel like that's enough to get the gist of what you're experiencing.
You're cisgender, right? You are agreeing with the gender you were given at birth.
Yes.
Honestly, you're not really going to be able to feel into an experience of someone who doesn't identify with either, who identifies with both, who identifies with one opposite of the other.
I don't think it's reasonable to force someone else to call you by whatever you identify as. Now, I already know people in the comments, y'all have fun, do your thing, I don't care. But here's the thing.
What if
for
you
a
can't
group,
tell?
It's always weird when, like, when a black person is advocating for these sort of conservative values, considering that, like, you know, black people not that long ago were not identified as a full-fledged American citizen, and even before that, not identified as a full-fledged human being. So it's always weird to see that when there are still racist people out there who literally don't consider black people to be like full human beings. Okay, Bow Bow, shut the fuck up. Just stop. Don't come in with the hot vegan takes, dude. He's gonna say, "Oh, why human beings? Well, what about non-human animals?"
For a group that claims to champion tolerance and true diversity, what I have seen overwhelmingly is a lack of willingness to accept what other people think.
People's identities are highly emotional. It's an emotional.
Well, Hasan, that's just what he thinks. HasanAbi, not everyone thinks like you. Well, no shit, not everyone thinks like me. I understand that. I'm just saying that it logically makes no sense. When you have a framework from your own personal experience and from what you've learned about your history, you have a robust framework to fucking analyze current marginalization of other groups and empathize with what they're going through. You're homogenizing black people into a specific value set. Anyone can be the oppressor. That's the problem. Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm just saying that the likelihood is lower if you yourself have experienced marginalization. And it's weird to me when people do hold on to these oppressive mentalities, these attitudes.
Point. Every time you tell somebody your ethnicity or your racial breakdown, it is going to spark some sort of feeling, whether that's negative or positive. And I think identity politics preys on the negative feelings we feel about ourselves and how we're viewed in the world.
I believe it's possible to live in a society where race, gender, sexual orientation are not a factor.
This is a tricky one because, like, do I think it's possible anytime in the near future or that we're anywhere close to it right now? Probably not. But is it something that I would like to live into and that I think we could all move towards? Yeah.
Well, I would say it's possible because they're only going to remain fixtures of debate as long as we allow them to. If we can actually find a way to stop making that the cornerstone of every ideological dispute, I think we can get there.
Who the fuck is Steven IRL? Thanks for subbing to Steven IRL, lol. Who's that?
But we divide ourselves into groups, whether it's how we look, whether it's our gender, whether it's how much money we make.
Oh, the bounty hunter?
I feel like as long as we're human, we're always going to do that. And so I always feel like it's going to be a factor. What kind of factor that is, whether there's a hierarchy to things, and those hierarchies interact in complicated ways, so it's not always clear cut. I think that's something we can fix and make better. But I think we're always going to have differences. It's just a fact.
Well, yeah, to your point, I mean, humans innately, we always have to have this superiority complex almost. So I get your point on that. I do.
I think it'll always be a factor, but how we act with each other, how we respond to each other is a completely different story. And it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive ideas. There's this contradiction between diversity and inclusion that keeps coming up. Like, what's wrong if we're different? It's okay. What's wrong if we're the same? It's okay.
I like that. I honestly think as human beings, we're going to be able to unravel our biases. And as we do that, then we won't create policies that disenfranchise certain groups. Once we get rid of that, unraveling that bias, we'll just all be able to see each other as human beings, because that's really what it's about.
Way to go. You too, man.
That guy's a beast, dude. He's a giant. What a fucking big boy, dude. What a thick lad, dude. I'm in awe. I'm literally in awe of his size, dude. I mean, he's a big wet baby, but
Hey.
It was really great to see Dan in that.
he's defensive lineman or some shit. You're a goddamn gotchi size king. Big boy, but none of it went to his brain, I guess. You promised Outlast. Dude, I don't know why I love Feels Weird, man. It's an emote that genuinely captures the feeling that it's supposed to be capturing so perfectly. Like, it's looking at me so disapprovingly. Like, it's just looking at me like, feels weird, man. Feels weird, man. Just like, really? Really? And he has a little cute ass Halloween hat now. And he's still like, he dressed up for Halloween. He dressed up for Halloween and he's still upset. Can you play Outlast tomorrow? Happy birthday, Hasan. What? Why are you guys saying happy birthday, Hasan? Feels birthday, man. It's not my birthday, guys. 9/11 Andy. Moxie tired. Isn't Moxie tired just Pepe mods?
I'm not God.
When I send a present to your P.O. box, if I include a Bernie sticker in a stamped and addressed envelope, would you sign it and send it back to me? Hairline looks good, BTW.
Damn, if you put it like that. Maybe. So Pepe Moz just stole from Moxie? Play CSGO with Slicker? Bro, Slicker's probably sleeping right now. What the fuck are you talking about? He's trying to stall chat. Should I just like... Should I watch TikTok or should I play... Moxie stole 5-head too? Wait, Slicker's live? What the fuck? What do you mean? What do you mean Slicker's live? "24-hour stream Pog?" Oh, he is? I'm down to fucking play. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I'll play with him. I'll play COD. I mean,